So how does this relate to filmmaking? I'm Peter John Ross and I'm an independent filmmaker. My entire life, all I ever wanted to do was write music for movies. As a teenager in the 80s, I became enamored with Edward Van Halen. Eddie actually even did a couple soundtracks, including from 1983 or 4 called The Wildlife. I even got to meet Edward Van Halen in 1993. I remember reading old Guitar Player magazine interviews with Edward Van Halen in the 80s. And he told this great story about how Ted Nugent did a concert with Van Halen, and he was so jealous of Edward Van Halen's sound, he paid Eddie's guitar tech, his roadie, to use his guitar plugged into his pedals and his amps and play. And then he was furious because he didn't sound like Van Halen. So later that night, he confronted Eddie and said, "It's like, I did this. Why? What did you take away? What's not there? What's the secret to your sound?" And this was far from the first time people have said that to Eddie Van Halen. And he said, "I just added a little Jape." Well, what is Jape? And in this interview, he goes, "I got sick of people asking me this because it's nothing. I don't know what it is that makes me sound like me. It's just my fingers touching this guitar plugged into this stuff that makes me sound like that. It's me." So, but people kept thinking there's a hidden pedal or he did something, like he played with the amplifier in some special way. And the reality was he didn't do anything. And he kept calling it Jape so that people would think there was something there that wasn't there because he couldn't explain it. So how does this relate to filmmaking? Filmmaking is a creative form of alchemy where you're combining this script and those words with this director, with this sound design, with this score, with these actors, with this producer, that set. It's an alchemy that even when you have the perfect formula, it's still got to cook and become something. And there are times where it seems like everything's perfect and then the movie still sucks. And I always use that term that Van Halen said. I always call it, there's Jape. No one can ever actually know what it is that makes that magic happen. Nobody can truly explain what happens when the perfect script hits that director, those actors, and everything comes together and it becomes a classic that resonates for decades.